Welcome back to Her Campus and American University's podcast, Miss Education, where we talk about anything and everything we find passion in affecting college students and in the world. We're so excited for you to be joining us today. It's our first podcast back of the spring 2021 semester, and we're super excited. Today on the mic, we have myself, Alle.
And Laisa.
Very nice. This is her first podcast, so everybody
Yes.
get super pumped and excited. We're really happy to have her.
I'm nervous.
All right, we're gonna be good today. We're gonna be talking about the Netflix show Bridgerton, which literally I feel like everybody has heard of before because it is so popular now. For those of you who don't know, the show is a Regency romance based on the Julia Quinn novels. It's a book series that was initially made up of 8 books following the love lives of the 8 Bridgerton children, and their names actually go in alphabetical order from oldest to youngest. That's really funny.
Love that.
This season, the Netflix one, was based on Daphne and Simon, who we all instantly fell in love with, obviously. So a little disclaimer, I have not read the books before, Laisa.
Me neither.
Okay, so I haven't read them before, and I feel really bad because everybody at her campus, the majority of the girls at her campus have said that they've read it, and I feel so bad that I haven't, and now here we are talking about the show. But I'm going to be specifically focusing on the show, but hopefully at some point I will be able to read the books because I really want to. The show was produced by Shonda Rhimes and the Shondaland Production Company, and it was written by Chris Van Dersen. Rhimes produced so many successful shows. I feel like she's so popular. She actually helped produce one of my favorite shows of all time, The Mindy Kaling Show, or The Mindy Project by Mindy Kaling. But she's done Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder, and Scandal. So it's no surprise that Bridgerton was renewed for a season 2 on Netflix. So that's really exciting. And just a quick little spoiler alert before we get started. There will be spoilers throughout the podcast. If you haven't seen the TV show, go watch it and then come back and listen to us because we don't want to ruin it for you.
No.
So Lisa, what did you think of the show? What were your initial thoughts on it?
So initial thoughts, I loved it. I would want to say that I know that there's a few things that it's kind of messed up, especially like in the storyline, since it was a Regency romance series.
Yeah, from like
it was very modernized.
Oh yeah.
And you can see it like straight off the bat with the music. Like I heard some Ariana Grande, Billie Eilish.
Yes.
And I feel like it was a nice touch, like to make it like so modernized, and also like the clothing. I love that in every episode everyone had like a different dress for every event, and like all the families had like their own color. Like the Bridgertons were mostly like with blues, and the Featheringtons were like in the yellows, the greens, the orange. Did you notice that?
No, I hadn't even noticed that, but now thinking about it, that makes total sense. I mean, like, I feel like Daphne was always so elegant, and so I feel like that makes total sense. But the music, I mean, talking about that, like, I think the piece that I most remember is The Wildest Dreams when Daphne's dancing with Simon, and it's like,
oh my God.
Yeah. It's really good, and now I like listen to that when I'm doing homework.
Man, yes. Same.
But yeah, it's really interesting to see the way like Shonda Rhimes and the writers decided to take like a modernized approach to a Regency era romance, which I think is actually a really smart idea because it makes it more relatable to viewers now. I feel like everybody can find like a way to relate to what's happening regardless of like the time period it's set in. So I think that was actually a really interesting choice that they decided to do that, and a really smart one. I really enjoyed the show personally. I thought that I literally sat down and watched the entire thing from like start to finish. I felt like that was necessary.
No, yeah, one sitting.
I feel like everybody has done that, and I honestly I heard about it from a few friends, and I was like, okay, I'm not really into a ton of Regency romances, but like pieces. I know Pride.
Yeah, that's not my type of, like, show either,
Yeah,
but
no,
I just knew I had to, like, give it a try, and it was so short that I was like, "Why not?"
yeah, exactly. And I feel like I wouldn't have been into it, but it was just so good. The way that they did everything in that show, I feel like really captured the essence of the Bridgertons and like the way that
Mhm.
they had it set up. I don't know. I hope I'm doing it justice by saying that I thought it was pretty accurate to the book. At least that's what I've heard people say. But don't quote me on that. I don't want people. I don't want people to be upset. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I feel like it was kind of an interesting twist to Gossip Girl in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
Like Lady Whistledown is essentially Gossip Girl, and I was obsessed with the show Gossip Girl, as everyone.
I watched it, like, 3 times.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Bridgerton was a Regency version of that, and it was
Mhm.
the pamphlets they had go with the
Yes.
hand out is literally like the same thing. And I love that Julie Andrews was the voice of Lady Whistledown. I thought that was a perfect
That was
choice.
a super nice touch. But
Um,
something that I didn't like as much was that, we knew who Lady Whistledown was at the end of season 1. I would've, like, appreciated if we just, like, waited a little bit. Like, I don't know, like, do you think it was nice that they just told us that it was
I don't know.
Penelope?
I think it'll be interesting to see because I think that Lady Whistledown played a huge part in describing Daphne and Simon's romance in a way.
Mhm.
And so I think that
And the Bridgertons in general,
yes, for sure. And like
'cause, like, the first paper was about them.
yeah, and so I think that it was kind of important that she was exposed at the end because it'll be
Mhm.
interesting to see with season 2, which from what I'm
Okay.
understanding that it's gonna be,
And
based on
Anthony.
this love story. So,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see if they use Lady Whistledown in a way because
Hmm.
we know who it is, and
I think they will, and show, like, more of, like, Penelope's perspective as Lady Whistledown.
yes. Okay, so Penelope is, Penelope Featherington is Lady Whistledown, just so everybody knows.
FYI.
Spoiler. Um, but I also think that I had an inclination that it was her.
I I thought it was so obvious.
Really? Did you? Why?
Yeah, like, I feel like when Eloise was, like, talking to her, she always seemed like, "Mhm, mhm, okay." And I just know that I was, like I had, like was like, "Hmm, is it this one? No, it can't be. Is it this one? No." Because then Eloise was like, "Oh, she had to be, like, invited to all of the parties, and she had to be here, she had to be there." And I was like, "Who is it?" Like, I don't and I just knew it was Penelope, like, I just had, like, a strong feeling it was her.
Mhm. I feel like I was kind of convinced for a while that it was, what was her name? Oh, I'm spacing on her name. She's the French seamstress that Eloise initially, thinks it is. I'm blanking. But I initially thought it was her, but then it makes more sense now that it's Penelope Featherington in a way, and I feel like it's kind of interesting that she kind of exposed her family in a lot of
Genevieve, was it her name? I
yes,
think it was
yeah, yeah.
Genevieve.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, the
Genevieve was the French
exactly.
seamstress. But the like, Penelope really took a stance with her family, like, she
Mhm,
exposed, Miss Thompson being pregnant because she's in love with Colin, and she
exactly.
wanted him to, be with her, but I think that I think it was kinda threw me off the trail in a way because I was like, "Why would she expose her own family?" But now looking back and, like, knowing who it is, I feel like it makes more sense. Do you
Yeah,
agree?
and also if she didn't expose her family, it would be like, "Hmm, they're not talking about this family, so maybe it's one of the people from that same family." I feel
Yeah.
like she would have seemed more six it would have been more expected of her.
Mhm. Exactly, yeah. Do you have a favorite character in
I
Bridgerton?
think I do. I feel like I relate to Eloise the most.
Okay, why do you feel like that? Because I also love Eloise, I think she's amazing.
I just love her. I am a feminist and I love how she always like wants to be educated even though like her mom says like, "Oh, do this, do that, like prepare like next year will be like your turn." And she's like, "I don't care. Like I really need to get married? Like I'm
Mhm.
not sure if I'm like up for this lifestyle." And I just love how um she's like unforgivably, I think is how you say it. Like she's
Mhm.
unforgivably herself. Like
Yes.
she doesn't care about the standards of how women should act like. She's just herself and period. Like she
Yeah.
is such an icon for me.
She really is, and I think that she is very important in the TV show in being a bold female character and
Mhm.
being so outspoken and being so honest and open, and I think that the way that they made her speak and come across is very was a very choice because they really did create a character who people relate to and people find.
Mhm. And she's so aware of like the
Oh,
situation of
yeah,
men and women in this era.
yeah, and it's so I think that it's so interesting that they made her so like I feel like at first she's kind of a minor character, but then all of a sudden she kind of develops into a really major character in
Mhm.
the plot for Lady Whistledown
Exactly.
and exposing who that is, and then having her own experience with, stepping out into society. And I really hope Eloise's season is amazing because I really want
Oh
to
my
watch
god, it better be.
it. They better renew all 8. They better make like all 8 seasons or all 8 books
No,
because
they
I'm
I'll read
so
the book if
invested.
they don't make the season soon enough, because 'cause I'm just like, I don't know, man. I
I
can't wait.
I feel like I'm so invested now in their story and in the family. I feel like I'm a part of the Bridgerton family, you know?
I am. I don't know about you, but I know I am.
I think also with Bridgerton, it's really important to address its diverse casting. Chris Van
Yes.
Dusen is the writer, as I previously mentioned, and he said that it was important for the casting to be reflective of the worlds we live in.
Mhm. So Bridgerton is diverse in its casting. Chris Van Dusen, the writer, said it was really important for the casting to be reflective of the world we live in now. Do you think it was successful in doing that?
I think it was. I was watching an interview of him and the writers because I really wanted to know why they chose to make the choices they did with the casting and everything. And they said that they wanted a person of color to be in every scene, and I think they did that really well. I think that
Yes,
they
they did.
uh, allowed for a lot of diverse characters. I mean, Simon, and not only Simon, but even with the Queen.
Queen Charlotte,
Yeah, Queen
like the
Charlotte.
queen.
And I think that I don't quote me on this, but that was a historical choice too, because I know that one of the kings of England married a person of color, and that actually did change the dynamics a bit in that time period. But I think that some historians were arguing with that with Bridgerton. I don't know if that was an actual like historical choice or if that was just a reflective worldly choice. But regardless of that, I think that the casting was amazing. I think that they did a really good job. I think that it was so important for it to be talk about racism. I mean, they mention it in the storyline, and then to talk about sexism and to talk about the pressure that women and men feel in that during that time period to get married and different sexualities. I mean, I think that it all is encompassed in this show. Um, yeah, what did you think, Lisa?
I totally agree with everything you said. I really appreciate, especially we get the diversity right off the bat in the first episode. I don't know if you remember when Queen Charlotte was like examining all the women that were going to find their husband and this season, and there were people from all ethnicities, and I found that that was very admirable from Chris Van Dusen. I really appreciated that, and as you said, he wants to reflect the world that we live in now, and we live in a time where equality is very important between the races, but here sexism is very prominent, and I have a like couple of problems with it. I would never imagine myself living in this era.
Mhm.
So
Me either.
the topic of sexism also, like, I feel like the miseducation, no pun intended, that these women face when they're like off to get married, because I feel like their mothers and probably even their fathers do not prepare them as
Yeah.
much as they should, because they only see them as, okay, you have to get married to this man and then produce heirs. But
Yeah. I think it's
there's a
also
lot of things that come with marriage.
of course, yeah, and I think that it's also, again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, the modern take of this show on
Hmm.
the world, that is very real, and the pressure that these people felt during that time period is still prevalent today. It's still you are expected to get married in a way. You are expected to have kids, and I feel
Hmm.
like the show does a really good job of exposing that truth and making it
Hmm.
very apparent. And I mean, you talk about in Simon's case, he didn't want to have kids because he literally felt like he was going to be a bad father because of the way his father treated him. And I think that that is so interesting and so important to talk about, and is so like something that we should be open about. And so for them to put that within this show was a really good choice. And even with Daphne and her experience with having sex for the first time, I mean, she obviously wasn't prepared for it. She had no idea what she was walking into. And so when they go through those scenes of her like pleasuring herself for the first time, or her and Simon having sex for the first time, I think it's interesting, because she talks to her mom about it and she's like, I was so unready for this. I was not prepared. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So I think that the show is important in that way of talking about sexism, talking about sex, talking about racism, and having a diverse cast. So it's a lot of encompassing things. It's a lot to unpack there, and I think that that's why the show is so popular, is because so many people feel like it's relatable and feel like that
Yeah, and
are
there's just so much to talk about
there really
and
is
so much to relate
100%.
about.
Um, but yeah, so on a lighter note, we're just gonna kind of do a lighthearted game, as we always do. We're gonna do this or that, and Lisa, I'm just gonna have you answer these, and you can tell me what you think. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm
Um,
ready.
would you rather be in Bridgerton or The Great? I don't know if you've ever heard of The Great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've heard of The Great. I never finished it, but so I would
Oh,
have to go by default
really?
with
Oh,
Bridgerton.
I love it. The Great. Okay, so
I get bored quickly. That's
yeah.
why I like Bridgerton because it was like short, so
Mhm.
I it was like harder for me to get bored.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna plug The Great now though, because I really love that show. It has Elle Fanning
man,
in
don't
it,
make
and
me watch. Oh,
no,
maybe I'll watch it
it's
now.
so good. I think I mostly just am obsessed with her and like, I think she's a great actress, so maybe that's just me. But,
Yeah,
so you would rather be in Bridgerton?
yeah.
Okay, I don't know. I think I'm torn between the 2. I'm gonna say Bridgerton for the sake of this podcast because that's what we're talking about, but I definitely love The Great. Okay. Would you rather be in the Regency era or the 1920s?
1920s without a doubt.
Really? Why?
I don't imagine myself at all at the Regency era.
Oh,
Like, I
really?
feel like I said before, I relate a lot with Eloise, so I feel like I would be, like, so, like, "What am I doing here?" Like, I don't fit in, I don't wanna get married this quickly, I don't want my life to be planned out, I wanna be who I am, I wanna be independent, I wanna choose my future.
Yeah, I feel that. Um, I feel like I would probably want to be in the Regency just because, actually, okay, I take that back. I would want to be in the Regency for the clothing, but I would
Okay,
definitely for like
okay.
political
But the
movements.
1920s has great clothing
Yeah,
too.
for political movements and the 19 like conversations in the 1920s, I
Yeah.
feel like I would probably also, yeah, flappers are kind of amazing. I don't know. Flapper clothing. um but yeah, 1920s, I guess then. So we agree.
Yeah.
Okay, they talk about promenading a lot. Promenading the square, in French.
Promenading.
Yeah,
Taking a
promenading,
stroll.
to take a stroll. Would you rather go promenading or running?
Promenading, because it sounds fancier, and I don't work out that much, so I know that I have a fatigue or something if I go running.
That's so funny. I'm gonna pick running just because I love running.
Ooh, athletic girl.
Yeah, I guess
Get him, I guess.
okay. Who do you think was a better gossip, Lady Whistledown or Gossip Girl?
Okay, better gossip than Gossip Girl, like, I don't know, I feel like Gossip Girl was she always, like, took a step into being, like, kind of, like, mean in a way and twisting gossip so that it will look, like, worse for the person that it was about. Lady Whistledown, I believe it was more like accurate. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you think that's true? Like I feel like Lady Whistledown always like told most of the truth, and Gossip Girl was more like, oh, I'm gonna say this like exaggerated so that they look
Yeah,
bad.
I think that Gossip Girl was definitely an exaggeration. Also, I think that Lady Whistledown has more of an eloquent way of speaking. So
Yes.
I don't know. I think Gossip Girl is like the original gossip, but
Yeah.
not really because Lady Whistledown was before her. So I don't really.
I knew you were gonna say that.
So I'm gonna go with Lady Whistledown, I think.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so that just about sums up our episode for this semester. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for more episodes coming up. Also, I'm just gonna quickly plug the BuzzFeed quizzes for Bridgerton that they have right now online are so good. So we're gonna put those in. They're the link to that in the comment section or in the summary section of this. As usual, we'd like to thank I'd like to thank my awesome co-host Laisa. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank you for having me.
Our amazing editor, Isabel Thompson. Yes, shout out Isabel, you're the best. And for more Her Campus AU, follow us on Twitter, Instagram at Her Campus AU to keep updated with Miss Education. Check out AU Her Campus articles on the Her Campus page under the American University tab.
Yes, thank you guys.